Guys, I really don't want to stress you too much again with this compressing cells or not compressing cells, you know. I think this is a very scientific topic already, and we have jumped over a lot of basic stuff we should have talked about before we talk about compressing cells or not compressing cells. And I really don't want to stand in front of my computer all the time and show you some websites and compare data sheets from one cell to another one. This is not the purpose of this channel here. There are other channels out there. Well, as you can see, I'm super busy here on my workbench. It looks like after World War III here. Hey, what do you think about my pink heat gun? It even has this nice feel-good structure. Works like a charm. Well, they had many colors there. One of them was pink, and I said, well, why not? Nobody else on YouTube has a pink heat gun, right? So, well, I'm currently redesigning the off-grid garage a little bit. So the workbench side of things on the left here, this will be our testing environment, testing setup and everything. And here on the right, all the lawnmowers, they will go away here. This area there, this will be our production area. So there will be all the charge controllers and BMSs and all the other electronics, and also the battery will live down there later on. So this will be production and testing. I'm not quite there yet, but we will get there soon. I've got a couple of weeks off now, so heaps of time to get all this stuff done. And some of you guys have suggested to put the box with the batteries, to put this box with the batteries on wheels, so I can easily move it around here in the garage. And I wasn't going to do that actually, but then I thought about it and said, well, this is actually a very good idea from you guys, because I can assemble the battery here where I've got space, and then later on I wheel the whole thing to the final destination over there somewhere, and then connect it to the rest of the system. Well, this is an offcut of an old workbench here. Obviously the former owner left it here inside the garage. I wasn't even aware I've got one. And this has the perfect size. So I will cut this as I need it and put some wheels under it, and then I can move it around here on the concrete floor. It is so good to have all your feedback under my videos. It helps so much, really. Very good idea. So this will happen, definitely. And then I've got also a new sort of MPPT charge controller here from AliExpress. I'm testing it at the moment, and also the BMS has finally arrived. QUCC. This is a smart BMS 7S to 20S, 200 amps, but it can handle peaks up to 600 amps. Bluetooth connection. Well, and this is exactly what I said before. We should care about these things, the basics, you know, solar charge controllers, BMSs. I should explain what a BMS is, what it does, and why you should have one, and how to set it up and connect it to your battery pack. We should not talk about compressing battery cells, right? Okay, well, we have to. This is part 2 of the why you should not compress your battery pack. And because we are doing hands-on experiences here on the channel, well, let's do this right away. Alright guys, here's our battery pack which we would like to compress, right? This is what the manufacturer told us, this is what other people tell us. Put some plywood or some metal thingies at the end, 4 threaded rods, and then compress the whole pack together so they're staying nice and close together and cannot swell when they expand during charging or discharging. Okay, let's have a look only at 2. It doesn't really matter which ones we have. Well, there you can see it easily. This is cell number 1. This is the first delivery I got, and it has this shape, right? Okay, so this is the shape of this battery cell here. Now we've got the next one. Let's see how this shapes. Oh, pretty much the same, right? And now we've got this shape of the battery and this shape of the battery, and put them together. And well, you can probably imagine what will happen. You can see it already. You can see it already here. If I push these two together, look what happens. Because the surface between the two cells it's not flat. See, the electrodes, they poke out, and the middle of the cell is pushed in, like dented. And this is exactly what happens here. We've got only the areas where the electrodes are, which are sticking out, and this is where the cells are touching. So you're applying all the pressure only in this area here where the electrode sits, not in the middle. The cell will still expand and contract in the middle because there's the gap in both cells, and you've got this concave shape here and another concave shape here, and they will come together once the battery is fully charged. But these two areas here where the electrodes are, they are already poking out. So there's no way you can actually compress them. And even with your first cell here at the end, how do you apply an even pressure on this surface area? If you have a piece of plywood or something, this will not touch evenly on this surface. It will only touch here where the electrodes poke out. And it doesn't matter which battery cells we are checking here. They all have the same shape. So if we put them together in a 4-pack here and will compress them now, they only will touch in these areas in between where the electrodes are, but in the middle they are still expanding and contracting. So I don't know, but it doesn't look like a good idea to me to apply 300 kilogram of force to only the parts where the electrode sits and not to the whole area. You know, and people on the do-it-yourself forum, they said, well, we have to have some sort of really dense foamy stuff here which actually adapts to the form of the cell. But then again, if you have foam or something, the foam will not prevent the cell from stretching or contracting. So I'm not sure how to apply pressure evenly on this surface. And then we've got a really long comment here from Dan from Freely Roaming, saying that all this only applies at a 1C discharge. And if you read the specifications of the battery cells again, he is absolutely right what he's saying. This only applies at a 1C discharge rate. So you have to charge the battery with 0.5 C standard charge and discharge with 1C. But 1C discharge rate means 280 amps per battery cell you are discharging. And not many people here in the solar do-it-yourself battery storage situation, they do 1C discharges. Maybe you do this only for a very short amount of time if you connect a welder or something to your system. But usually you charge with far lower C rates and also charge the battery with far lower C rates from your solar. So only this cycle life for these batteries is measured at 1C discharge, with most of the people who won't reach at home. So there is the perception out there, if you charge with lower C rates, you don't need to compress your cells, because this swelling and contracting does not occur that much. But then one guy in the forum also said, well, it's happening for him as well, even charging with very low C rates. So there's that. And we've got the comment here from Alexander Ganda, sorry, destroying your name. Alex says, my interpretation of that text about the 300 kilogram force is that if the battery is charged, it will generate a force equivalent to 300 kilos, meaning that in a discharged state of force will be 0 and charged it will be 300 kilos of force. But this does not mean that you have to compress it with 300 kilos in a discharged state, but just that you have kept it in an enclosure that has to withstand the 300 kilograms of force. And this is exactly how I read the text the first time as well, how I understood it. I thought, well, there is an internal force inside the cell which produces these 300 kilogram of force, but because there are already in this container, in this aluminium container, which has a fairly thick wall, this is enough to keep the internal cells compressed, and you don't need to apply any force at all. And a very similar comment here from Do-It-Yourself Projects. He said, I had a chat with EVE and they told me that the case was basically the 280 to 320 kilogram force fixture. It's even mentioned in the drawings of the data sheet. Just look at the bottom of the 71.5 millimeter side on the drawings. And yeah, as you can see here on the drawing as well, it actually mentions the 300 kilogram force at the bottom of this drawing, as he said. But this spreadsheet is from the LF280N cell. This is a little bit of a variant of the LF280. Not quite the same cell, but still it mentions the 300 kilogram of force on the drawing. And then guys, I stirred up the do-it-yourself forum a little bit. I posted some of your comments in there and say, look, this is what people have commented on my video. You don't need to compress the cells because they are already in this aluminium container, and this is enough to compress the cells which are inside this box. And I also posted some pictures on there from my experience with electric vehicles. I have recently seen the inside of a battery of a Mitsubishi minicab Mi EV. And this vehicle uses prismatic cells as well, and they are not compressed. They are sitting in like module cages, but as you can see from these pictures here, they are not compressed. They even have spacers in between, because this battery is solely air cooled from the air condition, and they need to make sure that air is going in between the cells. And obviously in an electric vehicle there are high C rates apparent. So you are charging and discharging the battery with far higher C rates than here in a solar do-it-yourself battery storage environment. Well, but then with these electric vehicles, if you don't compress the cells in these cages, in these module cages, and you get only 2000 cycles out of the battery until it hits 80%, you know, 2000 cycles times 200 kilometers for this specific vehicle now, this is like 400,000 kilometers until the battery hits 80%. So you probably don't care too much about the longevity of these batteries in these vehicles, right? And I posted all this on the do-it-yourself forum and had heaps of comments from other people there. And basically they are still saying you need to compress these battery cells if you want long life and long cycle life of these battery cells. So I'm not really sure. You hear both opinions in both forums under my videos, in this forum there. People saying they have talked to EV, they got this information, you have to compress the cells. Do-it-yourself projects here says they are telling you these containers, these aluminium containers where the battery cells are in, is enough. You don't need to compress them anymore. So we have got, well guys, as you can see, you got both opinions again, and no matter how far you read in one direction, you get always opinions of the other direction as well. And oh yeah, I had even one comment under my videos, and one viewer said, well, if you fill up the whole box, if you put all your batteries here in place and connect them and everything, and then fill up the whole box with epoxy just underneath the top of the batteries, this would make them basically one big compound inside this box here, and they will not move again ever. And you basically keep them in the shape as they are. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is a good idea, but I mean, it's a good idea. But is it a good idea to keep the batteries in the shape they are when you put this epoxy inside? I don't know. So I think we leave this topic for now. We probably come back later on down the track or something, or if you have more to contribute, please leave all your comments down below. I think we should take a step back now from this whole situation and concentrate on other basic stuff. So I even need to make a video about how to connect the batteries in series and parallel correctly, because there are still some questions under my videos how to do this. So we have to go back to very basic stuff first and make sure people understand, the viewers understand what is going on, and when they order these battery cells, how to connect them correctly. So I don't really want to make this like a scientific channel here and talk about very abstract and hard to understand, hard to imagine stuff with battery compression. And so, well, I don't really know, but I think I will not return this box here to my hardware store. I will keep this box and will use all these battery cells uncompressed inside this box and see how I go. Well guys, this is basically the verdict for me in terms of compressing or not compressing the battery cells. I will not compress the battery cells here. I leave them in the box as they are, connect them with the bus bars, maybe even with a little gap in between to allow cooling. I'm more worried about cooling here in this hot climate than anything else really. And well, then we will see what happens. You know, this is a very expensive, this could be a $2,500 experiment I'm doing here. I'm not sure. So anyway guys, without further confusing anyone here about this topic, we should leave it like this for now. And if you have anything more, leave it under this video or part 1 of the video here. And I'm sure we will come back at a later stage and see how my batteries will perform in maybe 2, 3 or 4 years. Guys, as always, thank you so very much for all your comments and all your suggestions in terms of the battery, all your links you are sending. This is all super important and super precious information you are sending here. Well, thank you so much again, and we shall see us again in the next video very soon, going back to a little bit more basic stuff here. And I'm really looking forward to it. Okay, see you then, guys. Bye bye.